percentage in primetime matchups. Apparently, he likes the spotlight. More importantly, though, this win puts the Seahawks in prime position to secure the NFC West. According to our Football Power Index, Seattle now holds a 51% chance to win the division. Lots of implications for last night. Seattle came through. And Marcus, you wanted to see more from Carlos Dunlap on that Seattle defense, of course, coming over from the Bengals in a trade. What did he show you last night?
Man, in the honor of Jeezy and Gucci Man having a versus battle last night, I like to say what it do, what the business is. Because that defense for the Seattle Seahawks showed up. They gave up 21 points. They closed out a game. The trade looked magnificent for Carlos Dunlap. They needed that in a major way. But I also want to bring something else to people's attention. That holding call that happened in the end zone that resulted in a safety, that's considered a great pass rush move, but it also is considered a big-time defensive play by the D tackle. So they came ready to play. Shaq Collar down, got to him, didn't really give up many explosive plays. At times I was frustrated because I thought the DBs were giving these wide receivers a little too much respect by playing off. But for the most part, this Seattle Seahawks defense, if they can continue to uptick like that against an offense who we all respect in this league, then we can start talking about Seattle being in the Super Bowl conversation again out of the NFC. But it's to be determined if they can keep this up and keep that type of momentum going. They were great last night when it came to making sure that Russ had the ball enough and making key stops in key situations.
I try not to go too homerish talking about Seattle, but also in honor of GZ, I put on for my city. And I was impressed. The only thing I didn't like about that Carlos Dunlap sack, Marcus, is that he's wearing number 43. It just doesn't look right. You guys know, right? Like watching him get those sacks with the number 43, it's weird. He doesn't feel right. I want to talk about Russell Wilson in the offense, though, because I think we saw like a vintage Russ performance. It was very efficient. And what really jumped out to me was that he didn't look like a sitting duck back there when he was getting blitzed, which is what's happened over the last few weeks. Some of that is that he was hitting his hot reads. He went 10 for 10 against the blitz. A lot of it also is that they were able to mix in runs, and it wasn't excessive. They still passed more than they ran, but that Carlos Hyde really ran the ball efficiently. He averaged over 5 yards per carry. And an efficient run game, Mina Kimes, notorious hater of early down runs, is saying this, can be a quarterback's best friend in situations like that. You saw that with Seattle last night.
Yeah, Ryan Clark, if you don't have a Jeezy quote yourself, I'm going to be really disappointed here. But I am going to ask you about Kyler Murray. So what do you think about Kyler and the Cardinals going forward?
Listen, I think Kyler Murray, he's a little early, right? He's a little early on his development. This team's a little early in getting to this point where they are contending for the NFC West. Let's not forget, just 2 years ago, this team moved on from a top 10 pick at quarterback in Josh Rosen. They move on from Steve Wilkes. They go out, get Cliff Kingsbury, and they draft Kyler Murray. I think to be at this point after a big fight against Seattle to win a game with 3 turnovers by Russ, after having a Hail Murray to have to win against the Buffalo Bills, I think that their record shows us a little bit or says a little bit more about them than they truly are. And then when you have Kyler Murray, he's out there fighting, his shoulder is hurting. He's really what some would call a sole survivor during those times late on in the game, and he was trying to make some plays, and he just couldn't. This defense really stepped up. This defense really stepped up for Seattle. And listen, Kyler Murray and the Arizona Cardinals will have their time. But right now, isn't it, Russ still runs the division from the quarterback position, and last night he outplayed the young second-year player from Arizona.
Woven in so beautifully, Ryan. One thing, Kyler Murray was limited to a season-low 15 yards on the ground. That factored in. The Cardinals now 0-5-1 when Murray runs for less than 20 yards. We got more coming your way on NFL Live, and both the Titans and Ravens have had their share of recent struggles. Why one person here thinks these teams have lost their identity? Who gets it right Sunday to continue a playoff push? I am so glad we got Jeezy in the show. I was hoping you guys would come through, but I just can't always count on you, you know?
Yeah.
Back for the Saints over Jameis Winston. Of course, Drew Brees was injured last week. Now Hill, he's been a versatile piece of the offense, getting the reins against the Falcons Sunday. But then just moments ago, Sean Payton, the head coach of the Saints, was asked about this, says he's not naming a starter yet. Take a listen.
Who are we talking about?
Taysom. I'm sorry, Taysom Hill.
Yeah, I'm sorry too, because I haven't announced that either one of those two are starting.
So that was just leaked by someone else, I guess, today?
I didn't see today or what you're talking about. Someone has been named the starter, but we haven't announced it.
Okay, so that's the first time that they've heard the sound because it just came in. Mina, I'm looking at your face. Marcus, you're laughing. You go first. What do you think about all this now?
Me? I'm going first?
You're going first right now. Yes.
Okay, listen. I know the reports, and I'm not finna get into what the reports, all of that stuff. I know that this is smart by Sean Payton. This is a football tactic. I've said that. This is a football tactic. Now, for all intents and purposes, Shefty never gets it wrong. Very rarely does he ever get it wrong. So I expect Taysom Hill to be the starter. But with that being said, why would Sean Payton give the Atlanta Falcons any information about what they're going to do from an offensive standpoint? So he's playing coy. He's playing like he doesn't know. He said we named the starter, but no one knows. This is ultimate gameplay by Sean Payton, who, by the way, was the offensive coordinator when I first got to Dallas. This is what Sean Payton does, and this is not good for the Atlanta Falcons.
My only regret
don't be looking
is
at me
that
like that.
this report. I cannot wait to get to Ryan, and I wish this news had broken during NFL Live because you would have seen Ryan's brain break in real time, and it would have just been absolutely incredible television. His eyes would have bugged out of his head. Okay, so the reason we're all surprised is not because of who Taysom Hill is, it's because of who he isn't, or rather who he wasn't last year, which was the Saints quarterback. Drew Brees didn't play for 6 games, and they went with Teddy over Taysom. Drew Brees went out with an injury last week, and they went with Jameis over Winston. That's why everybody is so surprised. Now, approaching this purely from a football perspective, Marcus is 100% right. This introduces an element of gamesmanship, of surprise. The Falcons are going to have to prepare for this, and also the possibility that it's all smoke and mirrors. I will say this, though. The Falcons do have a surprisingly decent run defense, and something I would be concerned about in this game if I'm New Orleans, other than, I guess, the question of whether Taysom Hill